They always say betrayal hurts worst when it comes from the person you trust the most. But no one talks about what happens when you knew the betrayal was coming, and you still let it happen. I could have stopped everything. Instead, I watched it burn, quietly. And now the ashes belong to me. They told me it was a little favor, nothing serious. I need you to meet my ex, Leo, Amelia said a week earlier, like she was asking me to pick up milk. Her voice was casual, almost bored. It's important to me that you can prove you're not the jealous type. Do you know that weird little flip in your stomach when something about a person's tone doesn't match what they're saying? That was it. But I smiled and said okay. Because here's the thing, that test wasn't hers. It was mine. She had no clue she was about to fail, spectacularly. The whole setup felt like a scene from a movie the night of. We walked into this dim, overpriced bar, you know the kind, low lights, sticky coasters, a DJ playing the kind of music that wants to be cool but is mostly just loud. The air smelled like cheap whiskey and citrus from someone's fake cocktail. There he was, Leo, slouched in a corner booth like he'd always owned the place. He still had that overconfident, I peaked in college swagger. You know the type. He stood when Amelia walked up and hugged her a little too long. Not the polite, 3-second hug, the kind that says, maybe this still means something. Then he turned to me and gave me that handshake, the grip that tries to say, I'm sizing you up. I returned it with a firm, no-fuss shake. Calm. Measured. I wasn't trying to prove anything to him. I was there to get something else. For the next hour I sat and listened. God, did he talk. Stories about the good old days with Amelia that felt like inside jokes with a club I didn't belong to. Bragging about work, the new car, a trip to some island whose name I couldn't be bothered to remember. It was the art of humble bragging, served cold. He poked fun at my clothes, my drink, my quietness. Amelia always went for the loud ones before you, he said with this smug little smirk, like he was handing me a participation trophy. And Amelia? She laughed. Not some polite titter, but full-out, head-tilted back laughter, the kind that admits she's having the time of her life. She'd lean in, touch his arm, close that tiny distance where conspiracies live. Every look she sent me while she did it was loud and clear. See? This is what real men are like. Ouch. I sat there and nodded. I smiled when it was time to smile. I let them have their show. No argument. No scene. No dramatic meltdown. Why? Because I knew exactly what I wanted to happen. I knew that if I exploded in the moment, she'd have all the ammunition she needed to paint me as the jealous lunatic. He's insecure, he can't handle it, he's paranoid. And frankly, I didn't want some messy divorce of words in public. I wanted something clean and catastrophic, a controlled demolition, not a tantrum. When she finally glanced at her watch and declared, well, I think this went well, the triumph in her eyes was almost comical. Congratulations, you passed, she crowed like we'd just completed some relationship pop quiz. I stood up, smiled the polite smile, and dropped cash on the table, enough for their ridiculous cocktails, because there was a point to that gesture. I told them to enjoy the rest of the night and walked out, deliberately not looking back. I let the silence after my exit hang in their ears. They had bargained for a scene. They got calm acceptance instead. Confusion is a hell of a punishment. You might be wondering, why didn't I confront her when my friend Mark texted me a picture 3 weeks earlier? Why wait? Mark had been at a coffee shop across town and saw Amelia and Leo walk in together. He swore they weren't behaving like friends catching up. They were holding hands across the table. A quick, furtive kiss when they thought no one was watching. He sent me a photo with one line, dude, you need to see this. That photo hit like a fist. For a moment my chest went hollow, like someone had turned off the lights. Hurt, yes. But after the initial shock, the anger that filled me was cold and precise, not hot and messy. I could have blown it open then, stormed over, demanded answers, listened to the usual parade of excuses. But what would that have gotten me? Tears, 3 versions of the truth, and a neat little box labeled, I told you so, that she could hand to anyone who asked. No. I wanted something else. I wanted proof so absolute it would leave no room for spin. I wanted something that would blow the lid off everything and make any later explanation sound ridiculous. I wanted a confession that wasn't performed for sympathy, but that exposed what was happening when she thought no one was watching. So I built a plan. Quiet. Surgical. Ridiculous in its simplicity. I let them play their part while I watched the performance like an audience member who knows the ending. I let their arrogance be the script. I let their confidence be their downfall. And then I walked home into the night, thinking about how fragile people's stories are, how a single photo, a single video, can crack open a life. I went to bed that night with the taste of whiskey and the hum of the bar still in my ears. I slept badly, plans like that don't allow for much rest. I kept replaying the way she laughed, the tilt of his head, the way they reached for each other when no one was looking. I wasn't ready to set off the explosives yet. Not there, not without everything lined up just right. I wanted the proof to be undeniable. I wanted it to be final. The next morning my phone lit up, 50 missed calls. I almost let them go to voicemail. Then, finally, I answered. What I heard on the other end made my stomach drop in a way the photo never had. But that part, that phone call, the confession I had engineered, and the moment everything I'd planned would either save me or destroy me, that's the part that changes everything. Once I decided to burn their little world down, everything became about precision. I couldn't just confront them, no, that would have given Amelia the upper hand. She was too good at twisting things. I needed them to feel safe. I needed their guard down. I needed them to expose themselves. So I started planting seeds. It began a couple of nights after Mark sent me that photo. We were curled up on the couch, half watching some forgettable movie. Her phone buzzed. Just a tiny sound, but it was enough to shift the air. She glanced at the screen, gave this small, secret smile, and flipped it over without a word. That one little smile told me everything. I let a beat pass, long enough to make it feel natural, and then, in a tone just sharp enough to sting, I asked, "Who was that?" She stiffened instantly. "Just my friend Jessica," she snapped, her voice climbing defensively. "Why are you so suspicious all of a sudden?" I shrugged and dropped it like it didn't matter. But it did. I just planted the first crack. And cracks? They spread. Over the next few days, I carefully built the narrative. Nothing too aggressive, nothing that screamed, trap. Just a comment here, a sigh there. Like the night she came home late from a girls' night. I didn't accuse her. I just said, "You're home late," with a carefully measured frown. It was enough to irritate her without setting off alarms. She took the bait. She started venting to her friends about how jealous I was getting. That was the point. I didn't want to be the jealous one, I wanted to look like the jealous one. A few nights later, Jessica cornered me at a party, wearing this mask of fake concern so thick I could almost hear it crack. "Amelia's worried about you," she said softly, like she was auditioning for a bad soap opera. "She feels like you don't trust her." I gave her the performance of my life, sighed, lowered my eyes, even rubbed the back of my neck like some insecure guy who knows he's messing up. "I know," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I've just been feeling a little insecure lately. I'll fix it." And just like that, the story spread. I wasn't exposing her. She was walking right into the story I'd written. 2 weeks of this act. 2 weeks of letting her believe she was the smart one. And then came the serious talk. She sat me down in the living room like she was the one about to dump me. Her face was perfectly calm, like someone gently delivering bad news they'd already rehearsed in the mirror. "Your jealousy is becoming a problem," she said, like she was diagnosing me. "It's a red flag for me. I can't be with someone who doesn't trust me." And then, there it was. The line I had been waiting for. "I think you need to meet Leo. You need to see that we're just friends. And you need to prove to me that you can handle it." I almost smiled right then and there. Instead, I gave her exactly what she expected, hesitation. A small, reluctant nod. A quiet, "Okay, if it'll make you feel better." The trap was set. And she had no idea she was the one walking into it. The night of the test felt like walking into a scene I'd already rehearsed 100 times in my head. I dressed for half deception and half purpose, a jacket that looked ordinary but hid a little piece of evidence in the inner pocket, and a nice pen in my shirt that was more than just a pen. It was a camera. The little things mattered. I wanted to capture the truth, not depend on memory. Before I left, I did the thing nobody wants to do. I logged into my accounts. The supplementary credit card I'd given Amelia, for emergencies, had been getting used with an increasing sense of entitlement. A $2,000 bag. A pricey spa day with Jessica. Dinners at places I'd never heard her mention before. She'd gotten comfortable spending as if the limits didn't exist. Comfort turned sloppy. Sloppiness turns into evidence. At the bar I let the insult routine roll off my shoulders. Leo needed to think I was lightweight, harmless, that his words could bruise me but never break me. Midway through his parade of jabs, I leaned in with an expression of wounded but understanding sincerity. "Look, man," I said, voice soft and real enough to make him puff up. "I love Amelia. I trust her. She says you're just friends. I guess I just need to hear that from you." It was bait and he bit with the kind of eagerness only an inflated ego can produce. He straightened, chest out, all predator and performance. Amelia beamed like a woman at the center of the show she'd written. They were feeding off each other. He started to brag, the tales getting more specific and careless the more comfortable he felt. "Where was she last Tuesday," he said, "when she told you she was with her sister?" "Not baking bread, buddy." He made it sound like an achievement, like he was delivering a punchline that crushed me. Amelia laughed, a high, delighted sound that tasted like betrayal. I pushed, just once more, in a way that sounded hurt but not hysterical. "So, you're saying you're still sleeping with her?" My voice cracked in the exact place that would make him lean in. He did. He whispered it like a trophy, every chance I get. "She likes the fun, she keeps you for the boring and stable stuff." Those words were a clean confession, captured in my jacket, framed by the pen camera, every syllable preserved. I let the conversation run a little longer, the performance continuing so nothing looked staged. Then I stood, paid the bill, left on my feet, and let the silence of my exit bruise them. They expected a scene. They got a collected man who just heard what he needed to hear. Back at home I moved fast. I called the credit card company and reported the supplementary as stolen, disputed the recent charges. I made the administrative move that would freeze the flow of money and create a paper trail. Then I packed. Amelia had been living with me for 6 months, she'd never contributed to rent and had filled my closets like she was planning to stay forever. I didn't bother folding things neatly. I shoved clothes, shoes, makeup, the small evidence of a life lived in my space, into boxes and bags. The quieter the packing, the less spectacle it became. While I boxed her things, I dug. Leo wasn't hard to find online, a professional profile, a tidy resume, a public life that didn't jibe with his behavior in that booth. It turned out he was engaged. His fiancée's name led me to a man I hadn't expected, her father, a powerful executive with the kind of face that makes headlines and makes people cautious. If there was ever a sword to hang over a man's career, this was it. I pulled the raw files from the pen and the recorder, stitched them together into a short, unarguable clip, Leo's mockery, Amelia's laughter, his whispering confession. No commentary, no spin, just the evidence in high quality. Then I made 2 cold, sleepless decisions. I uploaded the clip to a password-protected server and wrote 2 emails in the small hours. One to Clara, subject, "You deserve to see this about Leo." I apologized in the message, explained who I was, and left the link and the password. The second went to her father, worded more formally, confidential, evidence regarding your employee, Leo. I described the situation in clinical terms and included the same access details. Both went out around 2 in the morning. After sending them, I changed the locks in my head first, then in reality. I swapped passcodes on the smart locks, piled the boxes by the front door, and set my phone to silent. Amelia's calls and texts poured in, confusion, anger, thinly veiled concern. "Are you okay?" she wrote. It was the strangest thing, the gaslighting cadence she'd used for months now inverted into frantic attempts to regain control. I put the phone face down and, for the first time in months, slept. Not the restless, anxious half-sleep that follows suspicion. A clean, heavy sleep, the kind that comes after you've finally done what you planned. But even as I dozed, my mind kept snapping back to the thing that mattered most, the video. The clip I'd created could end everything cleanly, or it could start an entirely different kind of war. I woke with the taste of coffee and adrenaline and a dozen possible outcomes racing through my head. The first email replies didn't take long. One subject line made my heart drop in a different way than the photo had. The morning was about to get very loud. I woke up to the sharp trill of my phone vibrating against the nightstand. It was still early, the kind of hour where the sunlight is thin and quiet, like it doesn't want to wake the world yet. I glanced at the screen, an unknown number. I let it ring. Once. Twice. 5 times. Then, curiosity got the better of me. I swiped to answer, switched on speaker, and waited. "What did you do?" The voice on the other end was raw, wet with panic. Leo, I said evenly, leaning back against the pillows, my voice the calm in his storm. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" "She saw it," he choked out. "Clara saw the video. Her father saw it too. I'm ruined. My life is over. Why would you do that?" I let silence stretch, not long, but long enough to make him feel it. "I don't know what you mean, Leo," I said finally, keeping my tone cool. "Last night you seemed so proud of yourself. So eager to brag about sleeping with my fiancée. I just figured your fiancé and your boss deserved front row seats. You wanted an audience. I just made it a little bigger." He started screaming then. A mix of threats and begging, the kind of incoherent panic that happens when someone finally realizes the ground has been pulled out from under them. He pleaded for me to take it down, to tell them it was a joke. "You made your bed, Leo," I said quietly. "Now you get to lie in it." Click. Block. The fallout came fast. Barely an hour later, a headline popped up on a local business site. Sterling Corp executive fired amidst scandal. They kept the details vague, but I didn't need them. Richard Sterling didn't tolerate betrayal in business or family. Leo's empire had crumbled overnight. Next came Amelia. She must have talked to Leo because around noon, the intercom started buzzing nonstop. Her name flashed again and again on my phone. I ignored it all. Then came the emails. First confusion. Then apologies. Then full-blown desperation. She wrote about making a terrible mistake. Said Leo meant nothing. She loved me. She called the test stupid and said she'd been insecure. She begged me to let her come home. I replied with one email. Subject, your belongings. Amelia, I wrote, your things are packed. A moving service will deliver them to your parents' address this afternoon. The passcode on the door has been changed. The relationship is over. Any further attempts to contact me will be treated as harassment. I attached the video file. Just so she'd know, there was no wriggling out of this. At 2 p.m., the movers arrived. And just as I expected, so did she. She was sitting on the hallway floor, surrounded by boxes, her eyes red, mascara smeared. She tried to start a scene, shouting that this was her home, that they couldn't take her things. I'd already talked to building security. They appeared quietly from down the hall, calm and solid. They told her if she didn't cooperate, the police would be called for trespassing. And just like that, the fight drained out of her. She slumped against the wall, defeated, watching as strangers packed up the life she'd tried to build on a lie. Then came her family. Her mother called first, her voice soft and sugar-coated, as if a gentle tone could smooth over everything. She said Amelia had explained that this was all a terrible misunderstanding. That my overreaction was concerning. I told her I'd sent her the same misunderstanding Amelia saw. And I did. Her father called next, pure fire and thunder. A man used to giving orders and being obeyed. He shouted about how I'd humiliated his daughter, how I owed it to her to fix this. I let him finish. Then, with perfect calm, I said, Sir, I'm about to send you an email with a video attached. Once you've watched it, we won't have anything more to discuss. I sent him the link. He didn't call back. The storm that had been building for weeks suddenly quieted. The movers confirmed delivery. I got one venom-filled text from her sister calling me a monster. I blocked it without a second thought. Leo wiped his socials clean. Clara, on the other hand, posted a photo from an airplane with the caption, "On to better things." Good for her. Jessica, Amelia's best friend and one of the loudest defenders of our perfect relationship, sent me a short, awkward apology. I had no idea. "I'm so sorry for my part in all this," she wrote after seeing the video. It turns out facts don't leave much room for excuses. That weekend, I cleaned my condo from top to bottom. Scrubbed floors, folded new sheets, opened the windows. The place felt bigger, brighter, lighter. Like she'd been taking up space that wasn't hers for far too long. Our entire relationship had been a test. A performance she thought she was directing. She wanted to see how far she could push me, how much she could control, how much she could bend me to fit her insecurities. She never realized I'd already seen the whole play. She thought she was testing a meek, loyal fiancé. She had no idea she'd been playing chess with someone who'd already moved his queen. Checkmate.